Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey, you know what? I think you're doing like one of those Michael Scott office things with me where you let me say something and then you start the recording.
That's right.
Where Pam used to put Michael on hold and pretend to transfer him, and he'd say something crazy, and then she'd actually transfer him.
That's correct.
I think you're handling me.
You noticed that too. Did you notice that I would do a countdown and then wait an additional 5 seconds?
And it didn't work. It didn't work.
The scandal is revealed. Sweet Jesus. Anyway, this week we're doing the horror classic Planet Terror, starring Rose McGowan, Bruce Willis, who else? A bunch of other people. Jeff Fahey, Michael Biehn.
Yeah,
the list goes on and on.
Folks,
Tom Savini.
Who's hotter, Rick Baker or Tom Savini? They're both as old as our parents. So
yeah, it's a beauty contest and a freak show. So there you have it.
It's Carnival.
So don't forget to go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Like, share, and subscribe. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., etc.
Etc., etc.
Yeah. And Aaron, you are also on the social media.
The Cult of Aaron, join us.
Is that an Evil Dead quote right there?
Join us.
Very good.
It was either that or it was going to be, what is it? Gabagoo, gabagoo.
From Freaks? Oh, sweet. Yeah. That's a movie we will not be doing on this show, I have to tell you. Freaks.
I believe my brother, our brother, Patrick, gave that to me for Christmas one year.
I believe it was your brother, me, who gave that to you.
Oh, was it you?
Yes.
But thanks for the gift that you refused to watch.
So, Aaron, give us the 5-second plot summary of Planet Terror.
Here's the plot summary. Blood porn. That's what we're watching here. Blood porn. More than a Tarantino, this is a fetish style blood porno. So it is apparently end times. You get pussy, sloppy lesions, and there's some weird gas you could use to hold it back. I don't know what's going on in this mess, but bad things are happening. A chick gets her legs chopped off, but they put a machine gun on there instead. The little dude from 6 Feet Under is in it, and he's a helper until he's not. And then, most of the good people survive. The end.
That's not a good summary. Sweet Lord. Now, had you ever seen this before?
I have seen parts of it before. And
very good.
It is too much. Around the same time, it's like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino all kind of came to fame around the same time. And both have this very kind of bloody, kind of splash in the walls with blood kind of a situation. But they go about it, I think, in different ways. Right. I don't know why I can tolerate old Quentin more than I could tolerate this. Probably.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, so you found this very disturbing. Is that what you're telling me?
I did not find it disturbing. I found it more just not my jam.
For reals? See, okay. I saw this movie in the theater, and now, as some of you may know, it was released as a double feature with a Tarantino movie called Death Proof, and
which I'm sure I've never seen the second half.
It was called Grindhouse, and it was meant to be like their homage to these kind of exploitative movies from the 70s, kind of things like kung fu movies / car race movies,
Yeah, they
violent.
both kind of came about. This is both of their things. These exploitation films, they
Right.
love it. Which is very. But I have to tell you, it's so bizarre to me because these are my peers. Robert Rodriguez is younger than me. Tarantino's just slightly older than me, and I don't have this experience. But I'm guessing because I'm not a boy.
It's a guy thing, perhaps.
Perhaps. But how were they even exposed to this? This wasn't on like Channel 13 in Los Angeles back when we had like 12 stations.
Well, no, I'm not sure.
How were they exposed to all of this? That's what I'm saying.
I think you had to go to like the drive-ins or those kind of low-budge movie houses back in like the 70s is what they were going for.
So when they were 10, when they were 12?
I don't know about Rodriguez specifically, but Tarantino has talked about how that used to be his thing. Back when he was like, because I think he was like in junior high in the 70s. And that's what he would do for fun, is to go to these old kind of things. And as they became like, going to film school, I'm sure that they also kind of took that time to go back and appreciate that stuff as well. Dip their
toe in, yeah.
For reals. So this movie I thought was really cool is that Rodriguez went out of his way to really make it look like one of those films. Like the film is all grainy and kind of crazy, and there's a crazy trailer at the beginning. What's funny is
for sure there are parts of this I can totally appreciate parts of this, and there's other Robert Rodriguez films that I enjoyed more, but like I never liked Sin City either, so I don't know if that helps you or not.
Sin City was not my cup of tea per se, but
good for you.
I like this movie because I'm too young to appreciate the grindhouse quality. But what I thought, I'm a big fan of kind of campy stuff. I like it when it's like kind of tongue in cheek. And that I feel is this kind of movie. When you talk about blood, it's almost like the zombies are water balloons because they just explode. Boom. And I feel like that's done for comedic effect. To my mind.
For sure. This is for sure reminds me of all that kind of stuff. This is a boy movie. It doesn't have the things that I like.
Oh.
How about that? The good thing I think about this movie is the female roles they're all badass. Whether it's Fergie who dies immediately, they're all badass bitches.
For reals, I think that's what they were going for to a certain degree.
I appreciate that. Women are usually just like fodder in these kind of male horror movies. We're just
damsels.
Victims. We're damsels and victims. But this way, even if you're a victim in this movie, you're a badass victim.
Absolutely. Let me go through the plot really quickly. So in the opening
I'm sorry. Was mine not clear enough?
I would argue no, not at all. So Rodriguez starts off with a fake trailer for this movie coming up called Machete.
By the way, Machete is 75 years old.
Yeah, Danny Trejo is old as the hills. Now, because of the positive reaction to this trailer, 5 years later, they actually made the Machete movie.
Shut your mouth!
Yes. And then a few years later after that, they made the sequel, Machete Kills.
I didn't even know that was a movie.
Oh, yeah. This is real stuff. This is the real deal.
I saw Machete. Why didn't I see the second one? I like Machete.
Go check out Machete. Check out Machete Kills. I'm sure you can find it on at your local library.
I don't know how it fell off my radar. I'm guessing because it wasn't as good as Machete 1.
You might. One could argue that. That's for sure.
No cell phones in the.
Hopefully not. Anywho,
I'm down with Rodriguez. I just wasn't that excited about this. If you had said Dusk to Dawn, I would be all about it.
We may do that at some point as well. I loved From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
Anywho, we quickly are introduced to the go-go dancer Cherry, who, she's a go-go dancer, but is very emotionally conflicted about it.
She's very pragmatic. Rose McGowan definitely does a great job.
She's great. She is dynamite. I
bet she wish she had one of those machine gun legs when Harvey Weinstein was putting the moves. What an asshole!
They do not shy away from Weinstein. It's all over this. Weinstein. This brought to you by the Weinstein Company.
Oh, poor girl.
Yeah, good times.
It's like getting groped by Jabba the Hutt.
That's correct. It's Carrie Fisher in Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
rest in peace.
Absolutely right.
So anyway,
not to make light of Rose McGowan, but
not at all.
She's a badass in this.
She's great. So she goes to the Bone Shack, which is the barbecue joint.
The first thing I saw that, I'm like, is this Porky's? I'm like, what is that? That's what it reminded me of, the Bone Shack. For some reason, Porky's popped into my mind.
We meet Jeff Fahey.
We're not reviewing Porky's, by the way.
We will not be doing that.
It is a horror show,
yes.
But not our type.
No, clearly not. Jeff Fahey is the proprietor of the Bone Shack, which has the best barbecue in Texas, evidently. Jeff Fahey, you might remember him from
Machete.
He was, what was he in? He was in Silverado. He was in Body Parts.
Didn't see.
He was in The Lawnmower Man.
Didn't see.
And about this time, he was also on Lost as the pilot Frank Lapidus.
So it's like he's a stranger to me.
He is. It's not like that. It is that. And while she's hanging out,
full disclosure, I am drinking a beer while we record this.
Please do so. Whatever gets you through the night. While she's there, she meets her ex-boyfriend Ray, who evidently drives some kind of a tow truck. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
It's all very complicated. She also meets Fergie, who shows up out of the blue.
What happened to Fergie?
She's still around, right?
She was all right. Why isn't she? I mean, she could do a little bit more acting or something, or singing. I don't know what the hell she's doing.
She's dynamite. She's fergalicious.
She's fergalicious. So what happened?
I don't know. This movie, probably.
Carry on. Oh, yeah. I just have to jump in because this popped into my mind.
Yes.
This is the perfect characterization here. If George Romero made porn, this would be it. This is like George Romero.
You're out of your damn mind. Why is everything? You're just hitting the porn pipe heavy. Okay.
And by porn, I don't mean sexual intercourse, but it's that kind of heavy violence, like slasher porn. Except this is blood porn.
You are out of your GD mind. This movie is not. It's violent in a very goofy, over the top sort of way. It's not like watching Saw or Hostel or something like that.
Saw was okay.
You're out of your damn mind.
I just couldn't do it.
Okay, so goodness gracious. So meanwhile, there is a military convoy driving to a secret military base. We see crazy old Bruce Willis with a goatee.
Looking good, though, Bruce.
And you see Saeed from Lost. He's there, shockingly enough. If you ever remember Lost, of course.
I think it's hot when Indian dudes have that British accent.
I think a lot of them do, thanks to British colonialism.
Thank you.
Very upsetting. So there's some kind of toxic waste or chemical weapon or something. There's tanks of this stuff that somehow these army dudes need, right? Saeed from the Lost is what I'm going to call him.
Of balls.
Yes, he does. For some reason, it's like when one of his bad guys is holding out on him, he orders his henchmen to chop the dude's balls off, and he puts them in a special jar that he keeps.
Like a pickle jar. Do you think he snacks on them, or do they speak to him?
It's very upsetting. It's hard to know what's going on, but evidently the army guys get upset with Saeed's men. So a shootout occurs. Saeed shoots the tanks, releasing the green gas into the atmosphere, which causes all sorts of problems.
So it somehow retards the pustules.
what we discover is that the army guys are infected, okay, but they're able to keep it in hand. They're able to remain normal, human-like, as long as they're breathing it nonstop. Evidently,
I'm raising my hand.
Please.
I'm raising my hand because at this point, basically, he's cutting the dude's balls off because something has bars, whatever creatures are loose.
That's correct.
Right?
Saeed evidently had some subjects or something was in a cage.
I thought it was some Jurassic Park business at first because it's been so long since I saw this. I've apparently just burned my brain out.
Well, the bars are bent out like literally a velociraptor escaped. It wasn't like the yeah.
Is Jeff Goldblum in this movie too?
Could be.
Because later on, when we see the freaks, they don't seem to have extra strength.
They do not. I think it was done for comedy's sake. The so bizarrely, again, the bars peeled back rather than somebody just unlocking the door, essentially.
Yeah, it's so funny. I forgot to laugh.
Let me write that down. Good times. Meanwhile, we meet a married couple who evidently sleep all day and work the night shift at the hospital.
That sounds terrible.
Well, and it's also interesting. They have what appears to be a 10-year-old son who just fends for himself during the daylight hours. Is that basically how it works?
Little Jimmy was not long for this earth.
But you quickly figure out that all's not well with this married couple. The wife, her name is Dakota Block, is secretly texting somebody like, pick up Johnny, grab his bag, we're going to sneak out the back door kind of thing. She's fit to bail on her husband.
Right. Who's crazy and is constantly, do we know why he's constantly checking his pulse and sucking out a thermometer at all times?
Yes, we do know.
Tell me.
Because he feels like he's sick. He feels like he's infected. He's checking his pulse. He's taking his own temperature. See? These little things.
Is that how that stuff works? We just keep a thermometer in our mouth at all times?
Well, he later says that it'll also show, like, he'll be able to read his own calmness. You know what I mean? If he crunches on the thermometer, then he'll know he wasn't calm, is what he says.
When he drinks the mercury, then he knows.
That's correct.
So we come to learn that this guy is just like a sadist.
Well, he's clearly
doctor by night, sadist by night.
Right. He's like a serial killer, is basically what it is. It's like he's not just an abusive husband. It's like a whole new level. And we haven't even said the abusive husband, Dr. Block, is Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin.
Who would later go on to be, Thanos. Thanos. I was going to say Thanos. You were going to say W, but either way.
Who's Thanos?
From the Avengers movies.
Okay, I've given that up for Lent.
He was also
Lent.
Yeah, he was also Cable in the Deadpool movie. Prior to this, he was in The Goonies. If you like them apples.
That's true.
His wife, the woman who plays his wife, Dakota Block, is Marley Shelton, who was also in Sin City. And more famously, she was in The Sandlot as the beautiful lifeguard, if you like that one.
It seems to me that I've recognized her from somewhere else, because while I have seen The Sandlot 1,050 years ago, the rest of it is all Greek to me. So what else do I know her? She's kind of a badass.
She's good. She's so he's the ER doctor.
She's got some good wild eyes. I like her.
She does. She got the crazy eyes. She's an anesthesiologist. Is that what we're supposed to think?
We don't know.
It's hard to say. She's got special syringes that she keeps in her pocket protector for knocking people out, which we'll see later in the movie.
That was kind of badass.
So anyway, Ray is trying to drive home his ex-girlfriend Cherry along the way, but he gets into a car accident because something runs across the road. At this moment,
freeze. So he's given this whole thing about the deer, and people are stupid because they kill themselves swerving to avoid the deer, and he immediately swerves and gets into this massive car accident.
Right. That was the punchline. But he says That wasn't a deer, though.
That wasn't a deer.
That wasn't a deer. And then immediately something smashes the window and drags Cherry out of the car.
Yeah.
Ray reaches into his glove compartment and pulls out some kind of crazy machine gun that he just happens to have in his glove compartment with like a night vision scope. Comes around the corner. And
he must have been a Boy Scout.
Well,
Always be prepared.
That's the question. So now there's something going on with his past we don't know about, or he just lives in Texas. And that's how guys driving trucks in Texas roll. They're going to have machine guns just shoved in their glove compartment.
I think it's a little of column A, a little in column B.
Could be. So he comes around the corner. Cherry's being attacked by these bubble-faced mutants, and they literally pull her leg off. They don't bite her or anything like that because she's not infected later in the movie. They just tear her leg off mid-thigh. It's hard
like
to explain.
Ripping off like a drumstick off a rotisserie chicken.
That's correct. Basically. Sweet Lord. Also, poor Fergie, as we said, her car runs out of gas and she is attacked by zombies, mutants, some kind of creatures.
Spoiler alert, Fergie is in this movie for about a cool minute.
She's quite good in that cool minute, though.
She's good, that's what I'm saying. She could have been in Kill Bill 3.
She could have been. Now, so smash cut back to the hospital. There's a hilarious scene. I love it. Nicky Cat walks in as some kind of fisherman hillbilly type who has a bite on his arm. Big old gross bite. He's like, "What do you think, Doc? A little Bactine, maybe?"
Okay, I will admit this was a good part. I will admit, even though this is not my favorite movie, there were moments. There are scenes. There are moments that I enjoyed.
It was good stuff.
And this was particularly one of the good scenes.
He was great. Nicky Cat, who's been in a handful of other things. He is
not
hilarious.
Billy Cat.
Not Billy Cat. Not William Cat, greatest American hero. Different Cat.
Look what's happened to me.
I can't believe it myself. Anyway.
Suddenly I'm up on top of the world.
Not him.
Don't get me started.
He's not in this.
He's not in this.
William
but someone
Cat is
with
not
a
in
cat
this.
name on them.
That is correct. Anywho, good Lord. And that's when we discover that Dakota is the anesthesiologist. She has this whole spiel about she has her 3 friends, which are her 3 syringes in her pocket. First one, kind of numbs you. Second one, you'll hardly feel. And the third one, you won't ever see me again, kind of thing. And it knocks you out.
See, that sounds like Angel of Death. I really don't want my anesthesiologist giving this spiel to me.
No, it would be a bad situation.
Yeah, the next face you see is Jesus. But no.
Shouldn't I get a second opinion, Doc?
Too late. Boom.
Yeah, that was ball game. So they also wheel in another corpse, and that's when Josh Brolin sees Fergie, who's literally a no-brainer because they move her head to the side. You see, no brain.
No brain.
Very upsetting. And that's when you find out that Fergie was the one that Dr. Dakota Block was going to run away with. Evidently, they had a past, and they were going to go off, take little Tony, their son, and disappear, which drives Josh Brolin into a murderous rage. Where he is literally about to kill her with a syringe in the hospital with the door wide open, people walking by. So
because he don't gives a.
Clearly not. This is very upsetting. Ray gets arrested at the hospital as he's wheeling in Cherry with one leg because we find out Ray's got a past. And the kindly sheriff, played by Michael Biehn from Terminator, a few other things, The Rock, Navy SEALs, if you're really into those kind of things.
You might as well be speaking Greek to me because I have never seen any of these. Was he in Terminator 1?
He was in Terminator 1. He was Kyle Reese in the original Terminator movie.
Oh, okay. Now you're using names, so
there you have it. He evidently Ray is not allowed to have a weapon, much less a machine gun of some sort.
Because this town must be like Mayberry, because the sheriff literally knows every single person in this town.
Well, and his brother is the guy who runs the Bone Shack.
The Bone Jack. The Bone Daddy.
The Bone Daddy, indeed. One thing leads to another, and now there are crazy mutant zombies running around. Very quickly, Ray has to rescue Cherry from the hospital, and you see him do some crazy kung fu. He pulls 2 butterfly knives out. He's slashing this mutant. He does that Gene Kelly move where he runs up the wall and does a backflip over the zombie.
Or is that Donald O'Connor? I don't know.
What is it? The
Make 'em laugh.
Yeah.
We're deep diving my Turner Classic movies.
Yeah, this is a real deep dive. Tom Savini pops up as the bumbling deputy who promptly shoots an old man with an IV, thinking he's a mutant.
This was Tom Savini's prime when all of a sudden he decided, I don't need to be behind the camera. Why can't I also be in front of the camera?
And the whole world benefits, as far as I'm concerned. So he rescues Cherry, who, like we said, has one leg. He promptly shoves a table leg into the stump so she's able to hobble around. So that was nice of him.
So it's so nice that she has this kind of Wolverine ability to heal. Because I'm thinking, don't you need to work a scab before you're already putting attachments on?
Within
24 hours, she has a leg ripped off like a chicken wing.
Yeah.
And now, first a table leg is shoved into it, and then later on a machine gun, and not even like a wince.
No, not at all. Very, very upsetting. So we also see crazy Nicky Cat, who's now a mutant, wandering around. They tried to lance his crazy tongue lesions.
Oh, that was so disgusting. Of course it goes flying into your face.
Oh, good stuff.
I believe I wrote a comment in my big book of stories that just says, too much pus.
It is. Make no mistake. It is gross, but I feel like it's gross in kind of a funny way.
Well, that's their plan, of course.
That's what they're going for.
This isn't like Human Centipede. They're going for camp.
They're going for camp. This isn't Lucio Fulci's Zombie, where you're literally
Don't
like
even
yakking
say
in the
that
bushes.
name. If I ever meet Lucio Fulci, I'm going to pop him right in the mouth, man, for even inventing Zombie.
Yeah, you're going to need a shovel to do that first.
We're going to dig that up and burn him to the ground, because that man scarred me psychologically.
Of that, there can be no doubt. So all the surviving people try to drive off to the Bone Shack. Dakota, sadly, her hands are all numb after her encounter with her husband because he kept stabbing her in the hand. Now, that scene was pretty rough. The needle stabbing scene made me cringe quite a bit. So he used her own
tools,
her anesthetic needles, and poked her hands. So her hands are numb. And she's trying to open the car.
Oh, that is a great scene.
That was, oh, Lord.
With her high heel and her dead, floppy, numb hands.
Oh, sweet. So she's trying to drive the car. She's spitting a tooth out. It was crazy.
It's like French kissing with a mouthful of Novocaine.
Good times. She grabs her son Tony from the 2 babysitter twins.
I love the 2 babysitter twins.
who are mad that she didn't come pick them up hours before, evidently.
They're whacking her car with a shovel. That was a good part.
So, oh Lord. So she goes and drives her son to her estranged father, Earl, Sheriff Earl, whatever his name is, who actually, it's the same character and the same actor from the Kill Bill movies. It's a shared universe.
Oh God, don't get me started on this shared effing universe.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
She gives a gun to her son.
Is it part of the Marvel universe too, or is it part of some other blah blah universe? Oh my God!
All of the above, actually.
Oh my God!
So she gives us a gun to her son, saying, "Be careful, don't shoot yourself." He promptly murders himself on accident.
Oh my God!
2 seconds later,
obviously, this is, if they were only members of the NRA, this would never have happened.
What's interesting is, do you know who that kid was?
Is it Tony from The Shining?
That's him.
Is it really?
No, it's not. It is.
I was like, wait a minute, but that movie was from...
And Tony isn't in The Shining, by the way. Tony is his little finger. Anyway.
Tony is the little boy who lives in his mouth.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not
think of
him.
his name.
Anyway.
Wait, don't tell me. Now
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to get mad. It's not Doogie Howser. What year was this movie?
2007. So, yes.
So 2007, who was a child? I have no idea.
It's Robert Rodriguez's son. That's all you had to say.
I don't even care.
Clearly not. So it's interesting he had his son like accidentally shoot himself in the face. Very bizarre.
Yeah, she gives him the gun. Don't point it at yourself or whatever.
Right.
And she walks 2 feet. Boom.
Bam. Gone.
That was just God. God was like, okay, later.
Oh, goodness. And then crazy Josh Brolin, who's now a crazy mutant now, appears on the scene, still holding a needle that he's going to get her with. She escapes with her father to the Bone Shack. Everybody's back at the Bone Shack, which is now overrun with mutant zombies.
Freeze. Aaron's going to talk now. The best part of the Bone Shack is when he discovered the perfect sauce also included the blood that he bleeded into the pot. And the fact that when instead of drinking coffee, he just puts a coffee mug into a sauce and just sips on it.
Jeff Fahey is hilarious in this movie. At one point, he's like, "Are you going to come in? Or are you going to eat?" And the zombies just kind of looking at him.
He's like yelling at like they're old teenagers. Get off my lawn!
Right. And then he takes a bite of his ribs or whatever. He goes, "Damn, that's good." It was something the way he delivered it. He was hilarious. I'm sorry. So they all decide to, I don't know, drive somewhere. They jump in the back of the tow truck.
It's unclear where the hell they're going.
We don't know. Some people are riding on a motorcycle. There's a crazy mini bike that Ray is riding on.
Lord. Well, he is very small.
And they're driving. And meanwhile, zombies are in the road, and they just keep hitting them with the tow truck, and then they just explode, sending blood or whatever just everywhere, over and over again. Oh my goodness, it made me laugh so hard. If you haven't seen it, it is amazing, truly. Do you want to jump in here?
No, because William's trying to eat the macaroni and cheese. William, give me some macaroni and cheese. Don't take it all. I'm sorry, I got distracted.
Clearly.
William, save Mommy some food. Don't cut this out, Kevin. I think this needs to be part of our show.
This is going to be an entire episode devoted just to this.
All right. I can also talk about how I have a cataraxic cat who only requires the finest food. Otherwise, he tries to commit suicide by just looking at the food, looking at you, and then going to sleep.
Yeah, this will be great. This will be great. Sweet Jesus.
All right. So, what were you gibbering about?
So right when all hope seems lost, Bruce Willis and the army guys appear, shoot all the mutants, and bring them back to the military base, but they're promptly thrown into the military base jail.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
So when you said they shot all the mutants, would we to believe this is some kind of weird localized thing? But how could it be localized? Because when the military arrives, the military dudes are already all infected. Where did they get infected from?
Well, this is a very important plot point. Later in the movie, Bruce Willis talking to Ray and Saeed tells them that they were actually the ones who found Bin Laden and murdered Bin Laden, but not before they were all sprayed with this special chemical called DC-2, evidently.
I see. So this is some Saudi conspiracy. Well, Bin Laden was Saudi, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't found. Well, this is neither here nor there. Go ahead.
So, is somehow Trump involved with
this?
Yes. I'm waiting to hear that. And Rudy Giuliani, yes or no?
They're all involved. They're all involved.
I see Rick Perry all over this.
This is true. So the army guys are infected, but if they can keep tracking down the DC-2 and inhaling it, then they'll keep themselves relatively normal, but there's a limited supply, which is why they need Saeed, evidently.
Because how would he know the 7 herbs and spices that keep these dudes safe?
I don't know if he was the one who came up with it or something along those lines. It's something like that. But
it's unclear.
It's unclear. But the reason why it is otherwise localized is because Saeed shot the tank, sending the green smoke into the atmosphere of this area.
Right.
That's why there are mutants here and not necessarily everywhere. But I guess by the end of the movie, guess what? They're everywhere. So it's hard to say. Anywho, Tarantino suddenly appears in this scene.
Oh, God.
Which is always horrible.
He shouldn't. It's always horrible. I mean, he was okay in Pulp Fiction because he was a regular guy. And let me tell you, I complain about Kevin Costner. But Tarantino is no Kevin Costner.
It is really awful.
It's awful.
It's off-putting. It's disturbing. Evidently, he decides to grab Cherry and Dakota, along with some other muscle-bound army guy, to basically rape them, right? To have his way with them. He pulls his pants off.
They like the idea that the chick didn't have a leg, so there's less encumbrance for whatever
easy access
thing. Yeah,
it was. It was awful. He pulls his pants off, and his business is basically melting before our very eyes.
It's like that kinetic sand where it just kind of falls apart and drips down. Oh,
it was awful. It's like a melted candle dripping down. At one point, the other guy's like, "Hurry! Breathe inhale the chemical." Otherwise, he's like, "That's okay. I'll just make it quick." It was
horrible. It was horrible.
Rough. Saeed and Ray appear and kill crusty old Tarantino, and they shoot everybody else. They free all the people, but not before poor old Jeff Fahey and Michael Biehn are dying together. They were kind of estranged brothers, but now they're okay again.
Right.
Evidently.
All as well.
Earlier in the movie, he says, "On my deathbed, I won't tell you my secret recipe. I could be dying in your arms, and I won't tell you my recipe." Well, he does tell him the recipe of his special barbecue at the end, so that was important.
Laughing that he knows the secret won't get out because his brother has died, and then they all die.
Yeah. It was very sad. So Saeed is like, "It's okay. I know the world is overrun with mutants, but I am a chemical engineer. I can solve it." And then he promptly gets murdered. Shot in the head. Boom.
Oh, Lord. Lord help me.
It's a bad situation. They decide the survivors run for some helicopters to try to escape. Josh Brolin pops up. Even more mutated Brolin pops up. They shoot him, and they fly off to Mexico to relative safety.
Yeah, pus bags. They're all pus bags. It's so disgusting.
And they're pus bags that explode. So there you go.
Oh, my God.
Good times. Did I leave anything out?
You brought too much in, man.
It's hard to describe what exactly is going down in this movie, except to say...
It's a little chaotic.
It's a little chaotic, but I remember sitting in the theater. I saw this in the theater with my buddies. I watched the entire Grindhouse. So it was a 4-hour bonanza.
Oh, Lord.
And watching this, 5 minutes in, I said, "This is my new favorite movie."
I believe it.
This is my new favorite movie. It has zombies and it has comedy. What else could you want?
I will tell you, I think this resurgence of the zombies may have cured my fear of zombies.
Well, I say this about zombie movies in general. I was talking to Becky about this. If you can sit through an episode of The Walking Dead, you're pretty much there anyway. I mean, there are things that you see.
Season 1. I stopped watching The Walking Dead 2 years ago, but season 1, it was a nail biter, and then it just became like no big deal.
Well, I just mean in terms of the violence. In terms of the violence, it's...
Oh, no, this is much more violent than The Walking Dead.
I will say this. This is what I'll say. It's like...
You're not invested in these characters. Walking Dead, you see these people for years. You develop your crazy brain relationship with them, and then they die this horrible death, and you feel like shit.
Well, sometimes.
Okay.
What I mean to say is,
Negan beat to death.
yeah.
What the hell his name? I couldn't watch it anymore. I said, okay.
Let me get this straight. When he beat to death, what's his name? That character you're so invested in? Interesting.
I really didn't even care about him that much at the time.
Clearly.
But
or even
honestly,
now.
And it wasn't because it wasn't the zombie violence. This is my thing.
Yes.
The horror, when the ghosts kill you, when the zombies kill you, that's fine. It's the people violence that bothered me.
Interesting.
This is why I can't watch war movies.
It's the exact same thing.
But what was the dude's name? Ray, whatever. What was his name?
Which guy? I don't know which guy. Glenn?
Glenn. Oh, when Negan beat Glenn to death, I just remember I can't do. I just remember thinking.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Okay, if you're that far behind The Walking Dead, you deserve a spoiler. Let me tell you, Game of Thrones. The ending
don't do that.
is it's a bullshit ending, and everyone is crazy, and nothing good happens. So don't even bother.
Now, were you not concerned about Abraham? Poor old Abraham was killed first. You don't even care.
No, couldn't even care less.
Clearly not. These characters you cared so much about.
Oh, no, that's early days. And there were certain people in The Walking Dead that I rooted. I'm like, please kill that stupid sheriff and his shitty son. I begged for that kid to die from the very beginning.
I think they're all dead now.
Good. I don't care anymore because I stopped. I just couldn't do it. The Negan turned me around. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
That was it? That was ball game?
It was serious. That was the last season I watched. It was perfect clarity because the people violence I can't take. Fantasy violence, that's a whole different situation.
Interesting.
Well, I guess I'm not turning into a serial killer.
We'll see.
When I'm at your house, you don't have to stay awake at night going, do I hear a footstep on the stairs?
Well, now you tell me. Wah, 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 wah. Anything else?
Remember what the hell were we talking? Oh, I had a couple. Are you done with your spiel? Because I have a couple of talking points.
Jump in. Go for it.
I'm gonna have to put my glasses on because I took.
Put your glasses on.
There were some fun quotes.
Yep.
I'm Cherry. Yes, you are.
That was right. That was Dakota talking to because Dakota, we determined, likes the ladies a little more than old Josh Brolin at this stage of the game. So.
And then when that one dude came in with the chunk out of his arm,
yep.
He was like, "Can I just get a tetanus shot?"
That whole scene was hilarious.
And then the blonde girl, no more dead bodies for daddy tonight.
Yep. These are all good ones.
I write this stuff down. Yep. And then, quite frankly, just the little things like Grindhouse.
Yeah.
The reason they call it Grindhouse because they would grind them out. They're like, just flood the market with them, record them, and put them out to the public as soon as possible.
Yeah,
that's why they're called Grindhouse. And I was always curious about what an exploitation movie, because I'm always thinking it's some kind of porno thing or something or other. But the idea is what they're exploiting, and I've heard two different things on this. They're exploiting whatever the popular culture is at the time, but I guess it could also mean to exploit like black exploitation.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that could still be whatever the culture is at the time.
Yeah.
So, but isn't everything then an exploitation film? Like the Annabelle movies are there because all that Conjuring stuff was, so they're exploiting the fact that stupid teenagers want more crazy talking dolls. I mean, isn't that really all exploitation?
Sure.
We got deep, man. We got deep.
That's deep. Let me write that down.
Mark the date on your calendar.
Because
I always heard these terms, Grindhouse and exploitation films. Because exploitation films to me I don't know. I envisioned some 13-year-old being put in a situation that was uncomfortable in my mind. That's what it meant. But apparently
Okay.
not so.
It's hard to say. It's kind of a loose,
Yeah.
umbrella term that means whatever the heck you want it to mean. So who knows?
Exactly. But this is not my favorite movie, for sure. It's not my favorite. I will put Shark Boy and Lava Girl even ahead of this.
No.
This is not one of my favorite. And Robert Rodriguez is an interesting character because there are other of his movies that I really like. But I did appreciate the fact that he's got kids my age. So he was pumping out kid movies right next to these freaking Grindhouse movies.
Wait a minute. He has kids your age? What the hell does that mean? How old do you think he is?
He's 51. I bet he has kids the age that I had kids.
Okay, interesting.
So my kids loved all that Shark Boy and Lava Girl and then Spy Kids. All that is Robert Rodriguez.
It is indeed. He does it all.
But he also did like El Mariachi.
Absolutely. Desperado,
which is, I mean, this is why we have Antonio Banderas.
That's the only reason.
That is the only reason. But, and let's be straight. El Mariachi is far superior to Desperado.
I don't know. I haven't seen El Mariachi in 100 years, frankly. I do enjoy Desperado, though. That counts for anything. It's got Salma Hayek, and it's got Antonio Banderas.
Salma Hayek, he's like Quentin Tarantino. They find people they like to work with, and they just keep. They're in every freaking film.
And don't forget, Danny Trejo was in Desperado.
Danny Trejo, absolutely.
Machete, the original Machete.
Love me some Danny Trejo. There's a Trejo's Tacos down at the Grand Central Market in L.A.
No coincidence.
No, because you get the T-shirts with this crazy face on it.
Ron Rodriguez has been quoted saying he thought Danny Trejo could be the Mexican Charles Bronson. That's what he was going for.
He kind of looks like Charles Bronson if you think about that.
He does indeed. He does. Very much so.
Although I always thought Charles Bronson looked a little bit more like Cornelius from Planet of the Apes.
Oh, yeah. Twin brothers.
All right. Little known fact.
You lay it on me.
I think we have a relative, according to Aunt Marge, that used to work, do casting in Hollywood and used to work with, what's his name? Death Wish?
Charles Bronson?
Charles Bronson.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can't ask Aunt Marge since she's been dead for quite a few years, but I remember hearing some kind of Charles Bronson story.
Well, there was a casting director. She may still be working, called Marion Doherty. I don't know if that's the one.
We think that might be our relative.
There you go. We think River Phoenix is our relative as well, basically, right?
That's I believe we're going to go with that.
We're going to go with that. Other nonsense. Okay, let me ask you this.
Yes.
I'm looking right here at the total body count of Planet Terror. Would you like to take a guess?
I'm going to say 32.
Higher.
Ooh. I'm going to say 67.
Much higher.
I'm going to say 1,932.
281.
I guess I jumped a little too high.
El Rey kills 52 mutants.
Oh my God.
Cherry kills 50. And even old Sheriff Haig has 13. So there you go.
See, they needed to do like a whole spinoff with Cherry and her replaceable limb.
There you go. We didn't even mention that. At one point, so she loses her limb, and at kind of the climax.
I mentioned this. I mentioned this.
We didn't explain the context.
Press on limb.
Ray pops in, and when he rescues her from the rapists, and literally shoves like an M16 onto her stump that she can now operate. She can walk on it, I guess, but then she can kind of do some high kicks and shoot people with it. So,
oh yeah, she is clearly quite limber, even with her chopped off leg.
Right. All of her
fly through the air.
That's correct. Well, she lists all of her useless talents. In the end of the movie, all of her useless talents come to fruition.
Yes.
They prove useful at the 11th hour. So there you have it.
I'm waiting for my knowledge of weird trivia to somehow serve me well. It hasn't happened yet.
The time may come. Any last thoughts before we abandon ship?
Kevin, why do you like this movie?
I think this movie is hilarious. I think it is. It is great. I remember, again, I saw it in the theater, and it's got the fake Machete trailer. And in between the two movies, there's another, like, 4 fake trailers. Like, Edgar Wright did one. Eli Roth did one. There's, like, Rob Zombie did... Werewolf Women of the SS was one of his movies.
I'll go see that movie. How come that one never came to fruition?
Eli Roth did like Thanksgiving and like kind of one of those horror movies, but it's instead of Friday the 13th or Halloween, it's Thanksgiving.
Oh, Lord. So Eli Roth. Does Eli Roth have any movies that I will see? Because I've never made it through Hostel.
I can't comment on that.
I've only made it about halfway through.
But that was why Death Proof, to me, was kind of a bummer. Because it wasn't as much fun as the other movies. It was very slow to start. And then it kind of got not really fun, but just kind of, I don't know, not disturbing is not
upsetting.
The right word. Could be just uncomfortable. It made you uncomfortable for the entire rest of the movie, and you're just kind of like, which is a bummer, because Planet Terror is so much fun. It's almost like they should have started with Death Proof and ended with Planet Terror, but that's just my opinion.
Does it seem like that this generation, and Eli Roth is much younger than these dudes, but it's all kind of spins on revenge fantasies?
Could be. Well, there were a lot of movies like that. In the 70s, I Spit on Your Grave, and
I never saw that.
Last House on the Left. That was another one.
I did see that. Well, I mean, Tarantino is doing a revenge fantasy now for half of. He did like the Jewish revenge fantasy. He did the Charles Manson revenge fantasy. Half of Robert Rodriguez movies are all Mexican revenge fantasies. Eli Roth, I don't know. Eastern Bloc countries against American tourist revenge fantasies. I don't know.
Could be. It's hard to say. I cannot even really speak on Eli Roth. I haven't seen a whole hell of a lot that he's done either. So
I mean, he was very. I just watched this thing about horror movies that Eli Roth was like kind of like the narrator.
Right.
It was very interesting, and he shared his ideas about where he came from. I was just always surprised how young he is.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Yeah,
he's a young guy.
He's a kid.
He's just a little youngster. Any last thoughts?
There's what I did like about it is I like the fake previews. Mm-hmm. I like the film is melting and burning. That I mean, there were some fun things. When I say I don't like this movie, I mean I don't like this movie. But there are definitely parts of it that I can appreciate.
Makes sense. Okay. I would recommend it to children and old people as well.
Your daughters are going to be like, but Dad...
It's happened before and it'll happen again.
We're going to put it on at Thanksgiving because Dad says it's good for the whole family. Grandma, sit down.
Invite the local priest on over, sit him down, let him watch it. So thank you for joining us. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Like, share, and subscribe. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. And Aaron, you also have your own crazy Twitter account.
I am the Cult of Aaron. Boom.
So, boom. So check it out. Check it all out. Spread the word. Help a brother out. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, and be well.
Be well, my children.